Today I'm gonna tell you something about automating a character so that it can read its own script using a few lines of code. So first let's download a rigged Blender character here. I'm just searching for a head because I just need the lip movement here. So the format would be Blender and then it should be free, and that's how I got this character here, which should serve our purpose. So let's download it. The idea is to actually download this character and animate its lip movement according to the script given. So let's download this particular head here, and let's open it in Blender. Okay, so I'm using Blender 2.81 here. And now here it is. So this is the character, which is pretty nicely rigged. We just need to open a text editor to write our code. Even if you are not very familiar with Python codes, it's not a problem. You can just see these codes and write it down like that, make a little bit of changes according to your needs, and you should be fine. So what we need here is to change the movement of this bone here, which is jawbone, and it is connected to three different lip bones in the lower lip. First, we need to go into pose mode actually to make this happen. So let's go to pose mode, and then you can select a particular bone and make a movement like that. So that's what we want to get automated using our code here. So first of all, we need to create or call an object armature, which is the parent bone, and then you can call any bone you want. So first, let's do that using this line of code, and then we are gonna set the pose mode for this particular object. So you do it like that. So now we have the mode is equal to pose. And now what we are going to do is that we are going to create a new object, not an object, a variable, pbone, which is actually the jaw bone, which we are going to play with. So the idea is to use this jawbone's rotational movement to create a lip movement for this character. So let's do that. You need to actually change this particular rotation coordinate system into Euler 3-axis coordinate system. So we need to change this into X, Y, Z. That's the rotation mode we have. And then you can change it here to see how it looks like. So now that is much more simple. And then you need to define the axis along which this movement will happen. So we just need a x-axis movement, which can actually make the lower lip go down. And if you change the x angle, for example, to 10 degrees here, just a little bit more, then you see that the mouth is open like this. So the idea is to change these angles around x-axis to make the desired lip movement for this character. So now we are going to rotate this particular bone along a Euler XYZ coordinate system. We do it using this function. It takes two variables. First is the axis, which we have defined as x-axis, and angle by which it will rotate. So we need to convert this angle into radians. Right now it is in degrees. So that's how it takes as an input. You do it like this. So let's define an angle here, which is, for example, 10 degrees, and then run this script. So what you get is this lip movement here for this character. That looks fine. Now we need to play with this angle and using a logic, and then you can get the desired movement of the lips. So this is the a piece of code that will give the movement to this particular character's lips. Now we are going to define a string or a dialogue which this character is supposed to speak. And I'm taking a very simple dialogue here, like, "Hi, my name is Bob. How are you doing today?" And blah blah blah. And then what am I going to do is that I'm going to split this particular string of characters into individual characters, and those individual characters will have its own lip movement for this animated character. So using a Python code, I'm gonna split this thing into different individual characters. First, we need to define a few variables as defaults. Current angle is 0 and frame number is 1. And now we're gonna run a for loop for each character in this string. So list string actually divides or explodes this particular string into individual characters. And now we are going to have a condition, like if the character is A, then we are going to have this much of lip movement. So basically the angle. And the idea is to actually take all the vowels out of the sentence, the string, and then give a particular angle of movement to the lower lips for each of these vowels. And so that whenever the character encounters a vowel, it will make this much movement to its lips. And this is a pretty simple logic that I have created here. You may use more complicated logic, maybe for each word or for each letter in the sentence. You could have a different logic, a different kind of lip movement involving other bones, so that you get more natural lip movement for this particular animated character. So for each of the vowels, A, E, I, O, U, Y, I'm not gonna add this much amount of angle. And then I'm gonna put a condition where it encounters a period. So that will be a pause. So you have a 0 movement in its lips. So the angle will be equal to 0. And then I'm also gonna add another condition when it encounters a space. So there again, the lip movement will be 0. So the angle will be 0. And in all other conditions, that is else, I'm gonna have a default lip movement, something like 2 degrees. So in all other characters, all other letters that it encounters in this sentence, apart from whatever we have defined here, it will have very little lip movement. And now we are going to add a equation for the angle change for this lip movement. So angle actually will be the angle that we have defined for each character minus subtracted by the current angle of this jawbone, and that angle has to be in degrees because right now it is in radians. We also need to define the current angle, but default value of that is 0, of course. But after each movement it has done in this loop, we need to get actually what the current angle is for this jawbone, and that we get using this particular function. So that will revert back to you the angle along x-axis. We actually need to put this line after we have done the change. Yeah. So this is what we have, and now we need to set the keyframes after each iteration in this for loop. So the idea is for each character, for each letter actually in the sentence, you have a lip movement and then you keyframe it. So you keyframe it using this line of code. Pretty simple. We also need to change the frame number of yeah, we need to move forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm increasing frame by 2. So after each third keyframe, uh, in the timeline, after each frame, third frame, a keyframe will be there. Now, if we run the script, you see there is only one keyframe here. That is because we have not indented these lines. So unless you indent these lines, it will not come under the for loop that we have defined above. That's how Python works. So you need to indent all these lines so that it all comes under this for loop. And now we're going to run the script. Yeah, here we go. Here we get all the keyframes set. And then if you run the animation, it will have a lip movement like this. This is a pretty rough lip movement here. You can always make changes with different angle variations. And now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take this string and get a speech out of this text using this website from text-to-speech.com. You can also do a voiceover yourself, but I'm again automating this thing as well by getting an audio file for this particular line of sentence. And then I'm gonna open the video sequencer and add this audio file here so that your animation now will have voice as well.
Hi,
and this character is now
my name
speaking.
is Bob. How are you doing today?
So that's how
It is a
it
lovely
works.
weather
It's pretty
outside.
simple. It's very
Let's
rough,
go
but
out.
you can always improve upon it and get a lot of other movements for head, for upper lip, so that it can speak more. Its lip movement look more natural, and that way you can create a very realistic character. You can use it in your
Hi,
animation where they
my
have
name
to
is Bob.
speak a lot of things,
How are you doing today?
or
It is a
automated
lovely
newsreader or
weather
whatever.
outside.
So
Let's
thanks for
go
watching.
out.